Hello everybody and welcome back to this Speed Gaming presentation. We have the Link to the Past Randomizer Invitational League Week 7 for you this evening. This week is Co-op Randomizer. I am Main DM. I am joined alongside in the booth by Arya Stark. Arya, how are you doing?
I'm doing alright, Mind DM. How are you tonight?
I'm doing pretty well. We've got ourselves a matchup here between SaHa's kids, represented in this case by Gilgamesh and Talon, and Leftovers Restocked, represented by Chimo and Mystic. Now, this is a match, as you can see from the points displayed on your screen there. It is 9 points to the SaHa's kids and 6 points to Leftovers. These are the bottom team in the division and the team then tied for the next rank up. So, this match, SaHa's kids needs to win at least one game to force Leftovers into relegation. Leftovers Restocked has to win them both. And we get that nice ether, that go-away medallion. You need a sword and some magic before you can use it, but it's not too shabby. Our runners, of course, are going to split up. This is a co-op info share mode, so they're in a voice call together. Tane, Gil, Mystic, Chimo. And they're going to say, okay, well, here are all of the rollers and spikes and Lionels on the way to SaHa's Closet in Eastern Palace. Or, alright, the Chicken Shack was not actually that terrible. They will, of course, also share where all of the items are.
Yeah, obviously the major upshot of this mode is starting with boots. The major downside is dashing headfirst into the variety of fun enemies that you mentioned.
Dashing headfirst into, well, pretty much anything until you get a sword. Looks like our hoarders have explosives. There was one in a vanilla location, humorously enough.
Yeah, that's a pretty convenient one too, because there was 300 rupees in the Bonk Rock, so quick resource grab before going to Kakariko.
Speaking of resource grab, Chimo wandered right over to SaHa's Closet using those boots to get into the back. Has the hammer, has the moon pearl.
Yeah, that's a nice early find. Chimo's going to be bold here, head into Eastern with just these 3 hearts and a dream. Obviously, this is, in addition to Randomizer, there is the ball shuffle dynamic.
Yeah, the possibility in a lot of cases, Eastern being one of them, where you just don't need the bow. Now, you're still going to have it for Pod if Pod winds up being a crystal, because that one you still have to be able to shoot that statue in the back to make the wall move. But theoretically, depending on what boss is here right now, Chimo could beat this.
Yeah, the big challenge would most definitely be that dark room on the way to the boss here. Randomizer loves to stack that with nonsense, and with no fire source, it could be all the bigger challenge.
Yeah, it tends to be unkillable garbage, a couple of parabombers, and then maybe a Ropa just kind of wandering around in the northern section of the room.
Gil and Mystic both pulling a sword out of blind set, picking up a sword really early in Randomizer feels great, especially with these starting boots. A lot less, I mean, obviously danger still exists, but a lot less perilous now when you're dashing.
Yeah, I have to imagine that between the pairs of runners, the ones who have ether are going to go for that sword relatively quickly and vice versa, because it's really nice in some situations. You get into a spot of trouble and you say, you know what, I'd really like to just make most of the things in this room go away, and the ether medallion can do that if you have a sword to do it with.
Yeah, that's a great point. A lot of the safety items that you might see used like once or twice in a typical seed can get leaned on pretty heavily, and for good reason here. You see a lot of the top players really separate themselves actually in the way that they use certain items in different situations. That's a very nice chicken hut once again. I think that's 2 matches today I've seen, and 2 chicken huts filled with chickens, which is not always the case.
Yeah, kind of unnatural. Sometimes it tends to be the guard post, and that can be a little hectic. There was also a fish down there, and Mystic has kindly taken that fish oh so far to the bottle vendor, who is quite impressed for reasons unknown. It seems like the seed at this point is just waiting to feed our runners a glove somewhere.
Yeah, there's a little bit up here in Kakariko. You'll definitely take that free blue mail on race game for sure. It's another thing that's going to majorly improve the quality of life for all the players. But yeah, it definitely feels like we're waiting for the other shoe to drop in terms of some real direction here.
Yeah, I don't know what is in the eastern small key dark room there, but it got both Talon and one of the leftovers. It seems to do at least 2 hearts of damage, whatever it is, and there's a Lionel in the previous room that's only making matters worse for them.
Yeah, props to both players for going for it, but this early in the seed, it's a tall ask, and as you noted earlier, it does not take much early in the seed to derail progress there.
So we've still got some front of escape action coming up, and I think Gil is our first mini Moldorm, although we may have had one on leftovers, and I was watching Eastern Palace Dark Rooms on the other side. That's entirely possible.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think this is the first look that we've gotten of the South Shore area. There's that glove you mentioned and the lamp. All right.
Okay, so now we can see what's been killing our runners in that Eastern Palace Dark Room. I can't imagine that they're going to be really inclined to rush back over there, especially not now that Dark World access is just on the table here.
Yeah, absolutely.
Ooh, a roller and a chain chomp and a spark. Sure, yeah, this is a totally normal jaunt through southeastern Hyrule. Looks like Gilgamesh is in fact inclined to arm a water walk here. This can be a little more dangerous in Inamizer than it is in a non-Inamized seed. As you can see by, say, that chain chomp just hanging out in the water over there.
Yeah, good job by Gil there. Also realizing that there's going to be an enemy perched right to the left of that whirlpool when you come out up by Waterfall Ferry. A lot of times it's one of those aggro red guards.
And choosing to go ahead and get up on dry land there rather than risk the additional water walk with who knows what up here. Chimo, meanwhile, is going to go ahead and get into the Dark World at the portal at 4, and we'll get Hype Cave. That cape really is one of the better safeties in Inamizer. You can get into situations, say you're on that one tile wide bridge heading to Laser Bridge and there's just a spike on it.
Yeah.
Now, speaking of Laser Bridge is going to be contained within a pendant dungeon there. Pendant Mire, Pendant Turtle Rock. The glove hammer combination is nice in a co-op mode. It does allow you to split up a little more thoroughly than might otherwise be possible.
Yeah, that's a good point, because that's one of those things that, obviously you want to try to maximize the amount of efficiency and the amount of things that you can clear in a co-op setting.
And
And
when
when
you
you're,
get the
yeah.
MITS access and you
Mhm.
don't have access to East Mountain and you don't have the flute to get into Mire and you're both just entering at the portal to 3 and okay, so I guess I'm going to Skull Woods and you can skip Thieves and I'll do that. You just do an overworld sweep and hope for the best? Question mark?
Yeah. It most definitely does not feel great in that situation.
Chimo playing a bit of dig game there, just 20 rupees is the reward. Could have had those from Sank for a much smaller time investment.
Yeah, Talon and Gil evidently skipped the mail on race game, but Talon did get the one here on Pyramid, which is nice. Fun change up.
I'll expect that Gil is going to get one of those eventually. Now that he has a choice, I'm not sure which one he's going to like.
Yeah, we have a considerable amount of divergence here. Chimo is going to give us our first look up the mountain. Gil is heading into the Skullwoods area.
The mountain is a bit of an interesting choice here. With the lamp, with the glove, you've got 2 logical checks here. You can look at a third, but then your route kind of dead ends unless you happen to find something that extends it. And a blue rupee is certainly not that thing. I keep waiting for text boxes to come up with these keys, and that was last week.
Well, there's a second sword up on the mountain for Chimo here.
Yeah, suddenly AGA access, but who really wants to do that, right? It's a nice additional safety when it comes to boss fights and even just moving around the world, though. You're certainly not going to turn it down.
Talon went back into the front of Hyrule Castle for Dark Cross and is rewarded with the Fire Rod.
Alright, logically fire-locked fire. That'll get you a little further in Skull Woods. Of course, that's where Gilgamesh is right now. So you have to imagine that he's just going to turn right around after he makes the check of the Vanilla Big Key location. Doing a pretty good job dodging these anti-fairies, which are really making themselves a royal pain at the moment. And yeah. Apparently pain enough.
Yeah, that's just an exceptionally difficult room to deal with without powder, because those anti-fairies love to camp in the middle.
Yeah, eventually one of them is just going to get up into the up into that middle section there by the door, and once it gets in there, it's not coming out.
Gale gets through that room is rewarded with the compass. Well, at least he gets to see what the boss is, and it's cold stare, I believe.
Okay, you have to have the fire rod to get into the boss area there anyway, so that's not a terrible boss to have in that location. Chimo is working his way up to Catfish. Looks like Mystic is going to turn south and get into the Village of Outcasts. Interestingly, it looks like Mystic is finding all of the health, and Chimo is finding literally none of it. The SaHa's kids are a little more evenly balanced, but neither of them has as many hearts as Mystic already does.
Yeah, that's pretty wild. You do see those discrepancies sometimes in co-op, but to be this pronounced this early is rather wild.
And this really is one of those modes. If it was co-op AD and you're sitting there on 4 hearts red mail, you probably don't think a whole lot of it. You figure, I'm going to get a few more over the course of the sea. This will be fine. In Inimizer, 4 hearts really only goes so far because sometimes we just inimize traps into locations that you cannot possibly avoid them without caping up. And until you walk through the door, you don't even know they're there.
Yeah, very good point.
In other words, if I'm Chimo, I'm on the lookout for at least a couple of heart containers here at some point.
Oh, Gil is 4 rupees shy there of chess game. So it's gonna dive here into thieves.
It's fine. You'll probably pull a 20 out of thieves, right?
Surely.
It's a very common drop.
And Chimo gonna give us our first look at Pod too.
Yeah, speaking of people who don't have money problems, Chimo with more than enough to get into Pod with quite a bit left over. Yeah, that is a nice bow that Mystic pulled out of the Vanilla Big Key location. Gil now with that knowledge as well, so both teams fairly evenly matched. The difference is Mystic's partner is currently in Pod, and as I was saying earlier, you do have to have that bow if you want to get to the boss room here. Not because of the enemies, but because of the statue. Good blind fight there by Mystic. Blind holding the compass. The compasses are what let us know what the boss is. You can do a map check after you have it and find out, but sometimes the bosses just hold on to those, and there's not a whole lot you can do. Then you just have to face check it. Interestingly enough, it looks like Gil wants to do the back of this in kind of more of the more normal layout, while Mystic went ahead and did the boss first, and having decided that not enough items came out of the front, is now going to do the back. And this is a room.
Yeah.
This is a room with a switch.
In Thieves Town and Randomizer, without the compass, I usually probably dive into that boss room right away to see what we're looking at, simply because this can be such a pain to deal with all of this stuff downstairs. And half magic is nice, though.
That is not a bad safety, especially we know where the cape is. You can pair it up with a cape and not be in not be in a really bad situation there.
Yeah, and with a required cold stare fight upcoming, that's definitely a decent thing to have.
Meanwhile, I don't think Chimo has really pulled anything out of the Palace of Darkness, although we've still got a couple of checks left here in Dark Maze. Oh, he did pull the mirror. That is a good catch.
Okay, I had missed that. I saw him go back to the front, but I wasn't sure if he had death warped or not.
That mirror is a bit of an interesting find with that pendant Swamp Palace. You kind of hope to just not go there.
And the flute.
Alright, Mirror Flute's a pretty good combination, though.
Yeah, it's going to allow for tremendous mobility in this seed. And it already opens up quite a few dungeons. Obviously, the players are not quite at the point where they can beat every boss, but most of the crystal dungeons are accessible right now.
Yeah, that question of beating every boss is often the larger one. Gil wisely expending that potion when on 2 hearts. The fireballs only do 1, but walking into blind or getting hit by one of the heads is 2, and 2 was all he had.
Yeah, coming into that boss room when blind is already established at the top is it's definitely a real pain. Phelan does have the benefit of that cape.
Going to hold off on it as long as possible, not having that half magic out of the back. It's entirely possible that he does not acquire that. Meanwhile, Chimo is going to come in here and go ahead and get the cleanup as well. And Mystic very likely heading for Pod to do Pod things. You have the bow, you know that there are a couple of major items in there. Now it's not a terrible time.
Yeah, this makes total sense. Mystic's gonna head to the pyramid first too and pick up that red mail. Again, one of these situations where this mode itself, you know, you put so much additional stock into the safety items. But for good reason, they can save you in those tight boss fights. Or those awful sections like we've already seen in Skullwoods and we'll likely see again in the future.
Yeah, sometimes it's just rough room-to-room traversal that you really have to pay attention to. The bosses still mostly just do what the bosses are going to do. Now, there are some outlier exceptions to that, but, you know, by and large, you know what you're going to get with a boss room. Oh, alright, Talon is going to opt for the half magic. Wonder if we'll see the save and quit come out here then. Chimo preserving beams and going to throw beams at Blind's head from a distance. That seems like a good play.
Yeah, he got stymied a little bit there in the third phase, but did a good job of putting himself in a position to just finish off that fight nicely.
Okay, bows for everyone. Gil is going to follow Mystic into Palace of Darkness here. And Talon with that fire rod, of course, is turning north and we're going to see the rest of Skullwoods. And that may be the real reason for the half magic grab, knowing that Cold Stare is here and still just being on the Master Sword.
Yeah, very good point. And having that, again, that's why having the benefit of the info share from this co-op dynamic really helps. Talon does have to be a little careful down to single heart there.
Now, assuming that we're going to see an Argus at some point, we're likely going to want a hook shot. But similarly, the Ice Rod would be a convenient thing to find on the off chance that we run into a Trinex somewhere. It's really not impossible, especially given the dungeons that we have to do.
Yeah, very true. Of course, there's always the potential for Trinex in a couple of the locations in Ganon's Tower as well.
And if that happens, you really hope to have Butter Sword. Because there's not much that makes that fight better.
No, there really isn't.
A Chimo playing with this statue room in much the same way that Gil did, and it is proving to be as much of an issue as one would expect. The cape is going to eventually get the job done, though. Talon down to the half a heart here in the back of Skull Woods.
Yeah, he does not have any of the bottles that Gil picked up.
Yeah, acquiring one spare hit point and then having it taken away immediately by the Demos.
That was rude. That was so rude. The falling ice is definitely a problem there. I mean, you can use I believe you can use the spikes in Moth's arena to help kill the Cold Stare puffs, but that falling ice is just a pain.
You can. It will do Butter Sword class damage to them, and that is really convenient. The problem is you still have to deal with the falling ice, and the puffs still have a bit of a mind of their own. And Talon at this point has seen enough. It's going to be difficult to get enough magic to make that fight go anyway, and preserving hit points in the back with that enemy layout is just... that's a bit of a nightmare, honestly.
Yeah, I fully agree with Talon's call there to bail. It's really not worth it to try to grind out those resources you need and then still be healthy enough to actually take on Cold Stare.
Speaking of taking on bosses, though, Mystic heading for the back of Pod here. And Chimo seeing a 20 rupee there in King's Tomb.
Gil making it through the pod maze on half a heart to scoop that flute. It did look like Gil gave a check for the boss there. Was that actually Argus?
I missed it if it was, and...
Oh, Vitreous.
Oh, Vitreous.
You,
Okay, so that is a beatable boss. That's not necessarily going to be the fastest boss in the world for Mystic.
Yeah, but at least again you got the cape half magic. You could just have a really brutal, ugly fight and get it out of the way.
It's the kind of thing that the person in there with the ability to clear it does, and then you find out whether or not you can have your partner put it off for later on a better equipment set. Chimo has taken this mirror, and we're now up in Tower of Hera, doing Tower of Hera things.
Gil giving us the first check of Sick Kid, and there's the ice rod. So, yeah, as you noted, finding that in an Randomizer seed like this saves a lot of worry.
You hope that you're generally not going to have to use it, but you'd much rather have it and then never actually have to pull it out and just have to quick swap past it time and again than
Yeah,
have to go
absolutely.
hunting for it after you discover that, well, there was secretly a Trinux in Landmo 2 all along, lol, have fun.
That's precisely what happened to my team last year in our first Randomizer match in League. Exact same situation. Both of our teams had to go to left side swamp later to go get it. Fun, fun.
Mystic appears to be running for his life at the moment. Now has the distance open again. There are a couple more arrow shots. Gets the giant eyeball down. It's a Redarang. I don't think we're going to see Chimo rushing back to Palace of Darkness for that. Not anytime soon, anyway.
But it is a second crystal on the board for Mystic. And good info, as you noted earlier.
Now, Gil is heading for Dark Cross. This is where Talon pulled the fire rod a while back. Now, this is an item that leftovers do not know about yet.
And with the bevy of other options that they do have, again, we see Chimo up here in Hera. Desert is a possibility as well. Some Death Mountain things. Yeah, the escape sequence and Dark Cross in particular could easily just really fall down the priority list for leftovers.
And we have a cheating Helmosaur up at the top of Tower of Hera. Anytime that he walks over that hole there, you can't hit him with the hammer. Well, you can, but it doesn't do anything. Alright, so it looks like it was a chain chomp in Dark Eastern that was killing our runners earlier, and yes, there's that Lionel that was helping out.
That's a heck of a 1-2 punch right there.
Yeah, the Lionel's just gonna throw fireballs down that narrow corridor at you, and then once you escape that, huzzah, you try to duck around the corner of the room to stay out of the way of everything, and surprise chain chomp. Kind of difficult to avoid that in the dark.
Yeah, very nice job by Chimo being patient in that Helmosaur fight.
Putting that second crystal on the board, it's currently 4 crystals to 2 leftovers over SaHa's kids. Chimo is going to continue with this mountain play, of course, with the hammer. There's not a good reason to go ahead and leave behind 7 checks in Paradox Cave. Because eventually our runners are going to need the mitts. We're likely to need the hookshot. We may need the cane, the red cane? Question mark. But with the Mire and Turtle Rock pendants, we would be talking about a GT Big Key Samaria locked at that point, at least potentially.
You have to deal with all this nonsense just to get through Spiral Cave. You should get a little bit more than like 5 rupees. Or a hard piece. Or
It's the game telling you not to go there.
You know, fair enough.
And it was Mothula hiding at the back of Eastern Palace. Mothula without a bunch of spikes to protect it from real damage is not really much of a threat, as Mystic shows just a couple of hammer hits will get the job done there. The Hinox throwing a bit of a Crystal Switch rave party here. Chimo has that mushroom from Paradox, going to go ahead and get that turned in really quick. Yeah, some small denomination to cash. Not really helpful, but it's a decent time to stock up on a potion or two.
It looks like Chimo's going back to finish up Pod. Aside from the desert areas, there much else that leftovers haven't seen at this point?
I don't think so, and I'm wondering if we've got some mitts on that cold stare in Skull Woods, if there's an item left in there, because our runners are really starting to run out of places that they can go and things that they can acquire. As we can see by the fact that Mystic is cleaning up Agina's closet there for a whole 3 bombs. I guess with that book, there is access to Desert Palace here.
Yeah. Aside from that, I'm trying to think what else they have, because again, they don't have fire rods, so they don't have access to the back of Skull. Maybe Spike Cave has that and this desert check.
This is not the kindest, gentlest desert lobby ever.
Oh, Nochipato is noting in chat that if desert is in fact beatable, then Pyramid Fairy would also open up.
And that would be a really good time for leftovers to go ahead and pick up the front of escape sequence where their fire rod is. So that could work out for them as long as this is a boss they can beat.
Yeah, I did not see what it was when Mystic did that quick menu though. Oh, Vanilla Lammo? Okay.
I love how we're just having a little bomb tossing fight there. Ooh, Gil taking the 2-floor penalty there, missed the bomb jump. Alright, game, you have to show us the goods eventually. The bug-catching net is not gonna get it done.
No, not quite.
Looks like Gil may have decided that discretion is the better part of valor here, and he's going to go the developer-intended route over to that big chest.
It still has to deal with BMOs.
Yeah, Talon knocks down a moth. That's a third dungeon for him. Everybody but Gil has 3 dungeons now. Gil is about to get his second. Assuming, of course, that this Helmosaur King cooperates. Which sometimes it does better than others.
Yeah, I was not counting items in desert. I know that Mystic obviously got the net. Does look like the map might be outstanding.
And that's going to raise Mystic's dungeon count to 4 here. Everybody else at 3 now. Gil getting that Helmosaur King kill. And it looks like Talon is, well, maybe not quite ready for his rematch with Cold Stare. I guess he's going to go fish out that red bottle from the back thieves. So maybe he is in fact preparing for his rematch with Cold Stare.
Yeah, I don't remember where all the other bottles were. There was one on Stumpy, I know. I don't know if it would be quicker to pick that one up and put something in it rather than go through this mess before going into Skull.
Yeah, at this point it's kind of tough to say, because this is a bit of a slog. You've got a lot of screen transitions in here.
Chimo, meanwhile, also made quick work of Moth, so that's 4 crystals on the board there for him. Mystic is short money for the big bottom. So we might be seeing the arrow game get played here. Or unless there was something in K45. Oh, sure was.
Yeah, that looks like enough money to buy a bomb.
And good memory by whichever one of those two players initially checked that to remember that there was a 50 rupees that was left there. Now it seems likely we're getting an answer pretty darn soon, because Gil's heading here to the back of Skullwoods in pretty decent position for this cold stare fight. Mystic is going to be checking the pyramid. Very. And then hopefully for leftover's sake, checking out Dark Cross too.
Yeah, at the moment, I think the danger for leftovers is Mystic gets the mitts here and gets so excited by it that he abandons that front of escape check and misses the fire rod.
Yeah, it would be totally understandable too with so much that comes open, but oof, that would be really hard to come back to. And there are those mitts.
Heart container mitts, and you see that pause. Yeah, but he is going to move over and mirror in front of the castle, so this should be the front of the escape play. Leftover's going to be in a really good position here picking up this fire rod. Well, it's going to be a minute because it looks like Mystic is going to do everything else in the front first. But it's still going to take Mystic less time to do that than it's going to take Chimo to get all the way through to the boss of Desert and kill it.
Yeah, absolutely. As you noted, we saw there on Gil's side, making use of those spikes to really negate the effect of cold stare puffs. Logically speaking, flippers are still needed here for go mode, but leftovers could surely get that Ice Palace crystal, unless it's Argus, without flippers.
Yeah, we're in a position where we may get to dodge that boss, but that's one of those situations where that Argus can absolutely live in Land Mode 2, cannot live in Moldorm 2, though. So we are beginning to get to a point where you could decide to just risk it.
Yeah, I guess the one thing we didn't actually discuss about that dynamic too, though, is the lack of hookshot and comfort in either hovering or Moldorm bouncing. And it's not guaranteed to be Moldorm.
Yeah, I guess that is the danger of being a dirty hoverer. I just look at the hover seed and I say, oh, it's a hover seed. But you're right. I don't know all of these runners and their relative comfort with that particular underhanded tactic. It may be that they really are going to be looking for a hookshot before they go climbing the tower.
Oh, Mystic, forgetting for a moment about the lack of flippers, and he does have to deal with this thief here while fake flippering. Yeah.
Yep,
that is a problem.
Thankfully close enough to where he jumped in that the game didn't take too long to figure it out, but I do think this is one of those situations where you may just be better served by arming a water walk. Oh, gets through on the invincibility frames. Good job. Talon taking down those vanilla Landmos. Chimo fighting those vanilla Landmos.
Yeah, Gilgit did give us a look at Spike Cave there, and it was nothing. So there are a lot of mid-slot checks that we will see what these two teams opt to do in terms of like thoroughness, because SaHa's kids they're not going to be terribly far away here from, and I think actually Talon does have both red crystals.
Mystic in a very lime green ice palace gets the fake bombos, that tin bomb pack, for all the time and trouble of dealing with the pin gator room.
It was a fun little interaction there on Mystic's side. Bombed the guard straight out of the pit it was hanging in.
Interesting how thorough Talon chose to be with those mirror checks before heading to the orange bomb.
Yeah, do you think that's a condition of the fact that Gil's playing catch up a little bit with the dungeons?
It might be. It may also be maybe the hook shot is just on one of these checks kind of lookout, and then the mitts are just in swamp. Now, the Talon's going to find out that that's not the case here very shortly, but that could have been the thought process.
Yeah, and those are a couple of checks, particularly Bombo's tablet, that leftovers, even if they do check a couple of things prior to making a push up the mountain to GT after getting 7 crystals, would be far less inclined to check.
Also, putting a little thought into it, having read back across some of chat, we may want to consider the fact that without a hook shot and without the Cane of Samaria, GT is almost no man's land. Now, there are bomb jumps and things you can do to do the left-hand side if you don't have the hook shot. You can use your boots and even bonk to one of the chests fully in logic. Now, it requires so many keys that you couldn't put it in logic otherwise, but that's a separate problem. The simple fact of the matter is that big key is almost assuredly going to be either hookshot or Samaria locked, and right now our runners, between the 4 of them, have neither.
Yeah, that's a great point. You see, up on Talon's side, he ran into the same issue that Mystic had, although he wasn't spared same positive fate, having to save and quit rather than wait out.
Mystic pulled the silvers out of Ice Tea Room there.
It's a pretty darn nice find. Mystic is still on Fighter Sword.
I don't think Mystic ever went up the mountain to get that second sword out of Specky Rock Cave.
Hmm. I'm having to set up a not often seen bomb jump here in ice.
And Mystic is making this substantially more difficult than it needs to be. Get to the right side of this block, face left, do your spin setup, and place the bomb. That's all you have to do. Mystic is gigantically overcomplicating this. And interestingly enough, given the key count and everything else going on here, it certainly looks like the game expects our runners to have the hookshot in here. And I don't think anyone has gone and checked Meyer Shack just yet. I think the lure of the crystal dungeon that was Mitz locked was a little too strong.
Yeah, I mean, it's understandable, but those are a few quick checks, relatively speaking. Talon having a heck of a time with the Hangator at the very outset of Ice Palace. I don't think he actually was able to grab that key before taking that death.
And the ice rod, just in case our runners need it, and all of them have it at this point, was on Sick Kid. So you needed to collect one of the bottles from somewhere. I will say, you know you have a terrible Randomizer seed when you don't have one of, if not maybe the best safety in all of Randomizer. The powder, nowhere to be found.
No, and this seed in particular has been rife with anti-fairies.
We've got some Armos Knights in Ice Palace. And that's a small key. High Samaria locked dungeon. That's interesting.
Hmm.
As Gil cleans up Eastern there, getting closer to the things that have to happen for him to get his hands into the mitts. And Chimo taking down the Cold Stare in Skullwood, so that is a 6th crystal for Chimo, just needs that Ice Palace boss. And then some kind of an answer to what this seed wants as far as acquiring the GT Big Key, because now that we know that Ice Palace was Samaria locked, we're not expecting to see that in Ganon's Tower any longer.
In these two teams' position, how thorough would you be aiming to be prior to going up the mound? Because we haven't seen Super Bunny, we haven't seen that first chest of Hookshot Cave or Ether Tablet.
I think at the very least, I'm going to Meyer Shack and Checkerboard before, and then I'll just climb the mountain through Super Bunny.
Yeah, I think those seem very reasonable and quicker to do. Obviously, the Smith chain is such a chore no matter what. It really feels harder to justify.
I would be more surprised to see something like that or an actual Meyer dive. Alright, Chimo's going to go for the thing that,
He doesn't
that
have
everyone
bombs.
wanted Mystic to do.
Yeah, there's a bomb. Oh, bail out.
Just going to arm the water walk. Yeah, needed to find a bomb first. Got lucky with that 50-50 rock. And yeah, at this point, we're just going to have to see how thorough our runners are going to get. given that swords are in a bit of short supply, I would not be particularly surprised to see Chimo get the silver arrows here out of Ice Palace. Speaking of having issues in this entrance room, Chimo also getting a bit bodied around by that spike and the fire snake. It wasn't the pin gator that was causing so much trouble, it was everything else.
It's another room. There's just enough. And did it? Oh my gosh! Can he get that with the? There we go, boomerang at least. Oh my gosh! Drop the key in the wall. So Mystic is heading straight up the mountain here.
It needs to clear Tower of Hera, and then it's GT time, going to stop off here, and yeah, it says, oh wait, I don't have to sight check this, I know what's here. I do need to get it. And Talon is going to dodge those silver arrows in Ice Tea Room. So that may be our answer to how thorough SaHa's kids are planning to be. If that's too far out of the way, I have to wonder if the Meyer overworld checks are also too far out of the way, and the only additional thing we really see from them before GT is going to be Super Bunny and maybe Bonk Shot. Maybe not Bonk Shot at that point.
So Gil is going to get his mitts. He only has ice left. Now here is Meyer set on SaHa's kid's side though. Talon is giving us that look. That's not an answer.
Yeah, that's interesting that Iced Tea is too far out of the way in a dungeon that you're already in, but you'll make a special trip over to Meyer for these. Alright, I mean, that's a choice you can make. May have just been hoping that that last item was going to be on the boss, and then you get that small key, and all of a sudden you know what the lay of the land is. That dungeon expected you to have items that you do not have. Okay, Talon, this may work, but I disagree in the strongest possible terms.
Yeah, this is a little bit confusing, actually.
Gil has his mitts. Mystic is going to be doing these Tower of Hera things for a hot minute. You had to do the basement because there is no hookshot anywhere in sight. You have to come get this big key. So really the only person giving us new information right at the moment is going to be Talon, and Leftovers is absolutely going to be up these silvers forever and ever. So SaHa's kids needs this play to work.
Do you think that this play might be just in response to the read that they got from how Ice Palace was laid out when Talon beat it?
It very well might be. Because they know without Samaria that you're not getting into TR anyway, and with that key layout in Ice, you basically were expected to have Hook and Samaria to go in there. Yeah, unless I'm badly misreading it, which I may be. Ah, so the flippers to make that work were in mire. Interesting. Now we can have nonsense in Pendant Swamp. All right, sure. Video game here. Let's play a little more, shall we?
Oh boy. It's a Trinex in Mire, of course.
Interesting. Not really dangerous. Since if you find the second item here, it's the red cane, and if the boss has the second item, it's not like you're going there right now anyway.
Yeah.
It's a convenient thing to know. It does lower the chances that you're going to run into another Trinex some fine day in a terrible location. Speaking of terrible locations, terrible chest with the big key to mire. Alright.
Yeah, leftovers, meanwhile, they both put their 7th crystals on the board here, and Chimo is heading straight to the mountain.
Yeah, this is really interesting because unless I am terrible at reading Ice Palace, which, disclaimer, I am, I don't think they find anything for GT in GT aside from the big key. And Mystic doesn't even have time for bonk shot chest. Okay, that's... This is the life that we're leading right now.
Yeah, leftovers are pushing it hard here.
And in fairness, as the current bottom team in the division, they need to. They need to win both of these games to stave off relegation. Ah, second item in mire is in fact on the boss. GT goes small key bombs, and with no red cane, that's the end of the trip to the right. Now on the left, you can do some shenanigans. You can bomb jump and bonk around and get all the way to whoever's on ice if you really want to.
So Gil has put up his 7th crystal tail and is going to give us some, or at the very least, hammer pegs here. I'm guessing if they've committed this hard to this other stuff, it'll also involve the smiths.
Oh, that was a really nice save of what I thought was going to be a large problem with that big yellow spike. Nicely handled by Mystic. Just 20 rupees in what's normally double firebar room? That was the one logically accessible check on this side after the torch? And Chimo doing this with bomb jumps is going to have a lot of trouble with this spike. The bonk across is a substantially safer and quicker play here. Talon going to give us a very long invisible purple chest.
Oh, did Gil just pull Samaria out of Super Bunny? He did.
Oh, that is fascinating.
Powder on the purple chest. Okay, game.
Oh, and that Lionel is not doing anyone any favors.
Without picking
Bombs
up
in the
those
bonk shot
silvers.
chest.
Yeah, without picking up those silvers and ice, Gil didn't even have a way to deal with them, save for what he wisely did there was pull out the cape.
Now, I think what we're seeing here on SaHa's kid's side is the disparity between the hoverer Gilgamesh and the non-hoverer Talon. Talon, I think, is doing all of this for the hookshot on his own, and knowing where that red cane is, you... Oh, that was interesting. I did happen to catch that on Mystic side. There is an Argus guarding the normal Ice Armos room.
Oh
Now, if
my.
the big key is just on the right-hand side, leftovers are going to get to it really quickly. Because that red cane is going to unlock 5 more checks there. But if it's behind that Argus there in the Ice Armos arena, all of a sudden the fact that Talon is doing all of these checks may just pay out in SaHa's kid's favor.
No, Chimo had also not picked up the ice rod off a sick kid. Didn't even notice that.
And the answer is not in Compass Room. Now, it could still be in Tile Room here. And that's something that I expect that Mystic is going to check rather quickly. And Chimo is now going through all of these checks that Talon already made. Looks like he's not interested in the Mire dip just yet, though.
Yeah, I wonder if Chimo is perhaps trying to do the quickest things possible to give Mystic time to check out these 5 checks here.
It's entirely reasonable. The thing is, I think at this point, the hook shot is going to have to come out of the swamp play. And if that is indeed the thing that locks the GT Big Key, he's going to have to go into Mire to find those flippers to get into Swamp to pick up the hook shot. Just a bunch of money in the Southern Loop chest. Well, we have both of the wrong boomerangs now. Now we just have to find the right one.
Has Talon still not beaten Skull? Or did he get back to that? I actually don't remember.
I thought he did, but I could be wrong. Our tracker is confirming that he has not done it. Interesting. Also, Arya, I have a question. Where are the swords?
Two's not enough for a swell speed like this? Oh, there it is. In Tile Room.
That's a place to put it.
One thing I actually don't know about the boss shuffle dynamic here is, like, as you noted, there's a Argus downstairs. Is there still the possibility for the Argus in land mode 2 as well?
Yes, there is, unless we've seen enough duplicate bosses. I don't feel like we've seen enough duplicate bosses, but I could be wrong about that.
We haven't even set foot into TR, so we have no idea who's there.
Interesting, the hookshot not in Hookless Swamp.
Hmm. Oh, that's right, Turtle Rock. Turtle Rock is a thing now.
So what we have at the moment is a lot of madness, and Mystic here in a handful of rooms is going to tell us whether or not that hookshot is still needed after all. That the Gauntlet is decidedly bad enough with its normal enemy complement. Once you start changing things around, it can get even worse, although this is not necessarily on the strong end of worse than normal.
Yeah, it often feels as though it swings one way or the other, and that they make it somehow dreadfully worse or somehow ridiculously easy. Just a Vitreous here.
Yep, there's our answer. It's just Vidi, and operating under the assumption that the leftovers have something in their pockets that's going to deal with the fact that they have to cross that Moldorm 2 gap. They're in really good shape to take this game now.
And Talon's still having to finish off Skull. He also has to beat Hera at the end, too. Gil, meanwhile, doing that, probably that recon, trying to find that hookshot.
Talon with a great deal of fiery revenge there on Cold Stare, going to pick up that 6th crystal. Mystic into Torches 1 guarded today by a big yellow spike. It's positioned in kind of an irritating location. And caping through is all well and good, but you're going to have to do that and get these lamp lights. And, oh, that's...
Yeah.
Hit points are becoming a problem here.
Yeah, we can't really bail on...
Speaking of hit points becoming a problem, they have become a problem for Chimo in the earlier stage of the climb. That this is where people start talking about Randomizer is the great equalizer. Sometimes this climb just gets the better of a runner.
Yeah, Mystic was in a bad spot with Magic after that.
Yeah, he's gonna kill the killable enemies in this room and hope that some magic comes out, and he may or may not have gotten that pot, but
Yeah,
this is
the tough thing
a
is he has
difficult
to
position.
yeah, he has to use that cape a lot of the times to try to get by this spike. He does not really have, even with half magic, that much. The pots respawning there did not help his cause.
Yeah, and he's on much too tight of a timer to have waited that long with the spike there. Yeah, that top torch was out before he even got to the bottom.
Yeah, this is a tough spot. I don't know. I don't know that lighting that bottom one's actually gonna help.
I think it was more he was down there because he was picking up that small magic decanter.
No, good point, yes.
And he's hoping to just make it work, but it's, can he get through the door?
Oh,
Yes, he can!
wow.
Alright, nice.
Never a doubt.
The timing is not easy on that trick. Yeah, Mystic opening everything up here. Just trying to make life a little bit easier. Oh, and at the end of the day, who is it? It's a vanilla Moldorm. Well, mostly vanilla Moldorm. We've got a full complement, 8 eyes on this Moldorm.
So Gil went all the way to the laser bridge, did not come up with that hook shot, and looks like he is heading to Meyer.
So pull your red cane out of Super Bunny Cave to acquire your hook shot on Pendant whoever's in Viddy's room today. That's kind of disgusting.
Yeah, very much so.
And here's Mystic warming up the hover.
Well, fortunately, those whiz ropes are dropping hearts.
Yep, cards are in the heart pack today, so that'll be a rather easy way to go ahead and refill as long as you need to get your trick done. Sometimes the worm is very, very helpful, or wants to be. Well, we got a couple of pixels that time. Mystic may be getting to the appropriate rhythm here. And now it's Chimo's turn to play with this big yellow spike, and the very tight timing in Torch's one. Mystic not having a lot of luck with what's supposed to be a 50-50 drop rate. Alright, there we go. There, finally, we get the revenge of the previously 0 for everything. Oh, here we go. Yep, there it is.
Very well done.
Just needed a couple of warm-up attempts.
We just gotta hope that there's not a wall master in this room. Oh, anti-bear is fun.
Yeah, this room is fine. When you have the cape, especially when you have half magic, just turn the cape on.
Absolutely.
There's no reason to be a hero after you've done the hard part.
Talon, meanwhile, on Trinex here in Meyer, does still only have that Master Sword, Gil's Temper.
Talon gonna get some hammer hits, some sword slashes, a little bit of everything here on this phase 2 Trinex. But Mystic is through Aga 2 and is not quite prepared to drop in on Ganon. I expect that this is going to be a quick fairy pickup out of the tree.
There finally, mercifully, is that hook shot for Talon. That is a awful location.
One pig, one tempered sword, 4 silver sticks. Here is the Ganon fight from Mystic.
Very nice dash strats.
Yeah, really nice dash poke action. Did not quite get enough, but going to go ahead and push it into the third phase here. Health may still be a slight concern here, but Mystic is through what we would call the more difficult, the more dangerous part of this fight. Silver is Ganon's one true weakness. Mystic's going to fill him full of 4 of those, and that's going to wrap up the first part of the game. Barring anything really untoward happening here, the fire bats are still coming out fast and furious.
And there he goes.
Going to stay that full tile away from the gap, not going to risk anything. You've done all of the difficult parts, now you just have to wait for the easy one. Mystic going to cross the bridge. First finisher amongst these 4 racers, and keeping Leftovers Restocked's hopes alive. Wanting to remain in the Invitational League. Chimo still needs to come in and finish, however. This is not a done deal. For those of you coming in and wondering how this works, it is average finish time between the teams, so both runners do have to finish. And just finishing first is not enough.
Oh, Gil didn't get the big key earlier.
No, he neglected the tile room and is now going to go fight that Argus rather than do the tile room first.
That's a little bit, yeah, a little bit extra time here that SaHa's kids can be bleeding for to allow Chimo additional hover attempts.
Talon's going to fill that Helmsaur King's big green gem on the forehead there, full of sticks. Finish phase 2. It has been a minute, but Talon is finally opening GT here. Everybody else has been in and out and back in again. Talon going to single dip this dungeon.
Yeah, into Tower Room, I just go and give some the news that, yeah, it's Tower Room.
Oh, I know the feeling of that one on Chimo's side. You start, and you start holding down, and you feel the slip, and there's absolutely nothing you can do about it. As someone who is very much on team inconsistent hover, I know exactly what that one felt like, right down to the fingertips.
Yeah, question in chat, would you send Talon to go get that tempered sword? Pretty clear again with SaHa. I think with SaHa's case having basically checked the entire game, that's not gonna happen.
So I guess our other sword at this point is just in the back of Pendant Swamp. Is that what has to have happened here?
Hookshot Cave?
Yeah, I guess Hookshot Cave exists. I'm mildly surprised, now that you mentioned that Talon didn't just kind of wander in there really quick.
Yeah,
Knowing
I guess
that the other sword is as pretty clearly out of range as it is. And Chimo does land his hover, so Leftovers Restocked is now just a quick Hellway and Aga 2 fight and one more Ganon away from taking this game 1.
Yeah, and as you noted at the outset, I mean, this is 100% must-have game for Leftovers here. This will draw them even with SaHa's kids at 3 and 10.
And the other interesting thing is that going into this one, I believe that Amish Paradise was also a 9-point team, and they have 2 matches this week against your mom's favorite rando team. So it's not just between these two. There is one more team in this mix. They're just not playing in this particular matchup.
Yeah, a single win for SaHa's kids in Amish Paradise clinches them saving their spot. If it starts getting into a tiebreaker at 3 and 10, that's where things get a little bit, or 3 and 11, that's when things get a little bit dicey.
Yeah, speaking of a little dicey, Chimo's going to get out that cape. That phase 2 Ganon started getting not just a little, but a lot dicey.
Yeah, good use of safeties. He has that blue potion too, wisely. Just taking no chances here. Both these teams have had to do yeoman's work in this seed to get to this point.
Talon opting for slash strats here to try and preserve some magic makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, but that is Ganon down for Chimo, and with first and second place finishes here from the duo of Leftovers Restocked, they're going to take this match and keep their hopes alive for another day.
Yep, no need for math in this one. That 1-2 finish by Chimo and Mystic is going to give Leftovers Restocked the win in this match. This is game 1 of a 2-game set. They draw themselves even 9 points apiece with SaHa's kids. They still need to win that second game. But now they have given themselves the shot that they wanted. And it looks like we're joined in the booth by Mystic, Chimo, Gil, and Talon. Good game, everybody. That was exciting in a lot of ways.
That end of GT was terrible.
I hate everything.
But most especially that big yellow spike in Torches 1.
Yes.
I mean, listen, by the time I got there, it didn't matter, so I didn't have to worry about it.
I don't know what it is about Ledges and Randomizer. They always have a spike. The enemy's always a spike. It just has to be for some reason.
And if it's not a spike there, it's a chain chomp.
I knew I should use my cape, but I was kind of worried about the hover, so I was trying to save my potion, stuff like that. I also just wasn't watching my health carefully. That's why I died there.
What? You kept an eye on your health? And your magic? Nah.
I didn't.
I know.
How many eyes do you have? You kept one eye on your health, one eye on your magic, but...
Oh. At least you didn't have to farm mobs for magic and health. Oh. Yeah. GG's, guys. We literally hit the 7 dungeons. Like, we're either going to hover this and win, or we're going to spend 20 minutes hovering and lose. So.
So you did both hover?
Yeah, it's not something we regularly do, nor are we very good at it. But we pulled it off today.
We didn't know if you guys were hoverers or not, so we just. Talon can't. I can, but it's also Randomizer, so you don't know what's going to be up there. So.
Yeah,
my hovering is not something that's worth relying on right now. So,
it's really not. We hit that thing. We're like, you know what? It's into the season. It's do or die. We've got 7 dungeons, and we're going for it. And we even went we didn't even check Super Bunny Cave on the way over to GT. So we cleared the entire left side of GT. We couldn't go any farther. Left, found the cave in Super Bunny, and went back and found the key.
Mm. Hookshot was in Mire, in case you were curious, on the boss.
Yeah. Yeah, we saw that.
Yeah, if it had been summer faster, I think it would have been very close, or probably you guys would have been in the lead.
Yeah, I mean, even with, honestly, even with finding the hookshot, we were both climbing GT at that point when you guys finished, so.
Yeah. I mean, the worst case scenario for us at that point would have been it being behind Argus on ice.
That was partially my fault, is I forgot to check Tile Room after doing I went up the mountain first and cleared GT without the hookshot, looking for the big key, because you need to find it anyway, so whatever. Yeah. And I, got to Argus and it's like, oh, well, okay, can't do it. So, but I forgot to check Tile Room after that, so
the second time I was in GT, so after the first time we didn't find the key, I went to Super Bunny. Chemo flew off to go check Mire area and start doing everything we hadn't done. And I got back in with the cane, did all the right side, and went, okay, Chemo, you better find that hookshot, because if it's not here in Tile Room, we're screwed.
Uh-huh.
And lo and behold, it had to be a tile seed too, so.
The cane for 1 check for us.
It was, yeah. But no, there was a few points where it would have fallen apart, even getting, I got to Moldorf, I had no safeties left because of that stupid spike. I had 3 hearts that kept failing the hover and was farming the wizards down below for hearts. Thankfully, they had hearts.
Oh, that would
Like,
happen.
I failed twice, and then I'm like, Chemo, I'm farming more hearts. How are you doing? It was a mess. Like, that's a scene on how to hover, but do it badly and with the least planning ahead as possible. But overall, like, I felt like the early seed wasn't that bad. It wasn't until like the very end that things got a little all over the place.
Yeah, I mean, getting those mitts was kind of annoying.
Yeah.
Basically, last location those, but
Yeah, it was our last location.
Well, not counting Kane.
right.
No,
Yeah.
I mean at the time.
No, I
At
know.
the time, it was last location.
Yeah, no, it was. Yeah, we found those, and we were like, okay, we're still gonna hunt for Kane and Hook. So I cleared like Ice Tea Room and Ice, which had the silvers. Just yeah, we were like, how much are we checking, and how much of this are we just gonna gamble and hope we can pull it off?
Teddy the Junior device too.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, and like I don't know. I thought Mystic said Pyramid Fairy for Fire Rod, so I like got Pyramid Fairy,
Close.
but I wasn't paying any attention at all, so I didn't see that I didn't get it. And then I just went all the way to Skullwoods without it. Had to come
He gets
back.
to school and she goes, "Hey, where's the fire rod?" I was like, "Dark Cross, the other side of the pyramid."
I was like, oh, he was just routing through here to
Like 2 minutes before you. Yeah, nah. But look, this all just makes the next race a big deal, so it'll be fun.
Yeah, I'm not doing that one.
No pressure on you then.
pressure's all on Days Cloud for us.
Yeah, we'll just put y'all both teams pressure on Days Cloud. He'll be fine.
Yeah.
So
So
that
yeah,
was fun.
game 2 coming up for all the marbles, huh? You guys have that one on the schedule yet?
Well,
Oh,
there's not for all the marbles, but for who loses all their marbles.
yeah, it's not
It's Randomizer,
scheduled
you've
yet.
lost all your marbles already.
Yeah.
We're sorting out the scheduling. Looks like it's probably going to be a Friday or weekend
Yeah, it'll be
race.
later in the week, most likely.
I think I have to be the other runner. Is that right? I think
No, because cross keys put you at 4. This should have been your 5th. We'll check we'll
okay.
count it again.
we'll double check that. I don't know.
That'd be dumb of us to mess that up. pull
Definitely
off,
a
pull
poor
off
way
the win
to
and
get
then still get relegated because we didn't give Chemo his 5 races.
Yeah, no, Chemo, you do have. This was your 5th.
Okay,
Yeah.
perfect. Then we got some choices.
So in other words, Chemo's saying it's me and Dazed. I always run the Randomizer seeds. I love them. I love Randomizer.
I normally love them too. This one was not fun. I did not enjoy this one.
I know.
It wasn't that bad until GT was annoying, I think. I don't know. Some parts of the world weren't as bad. Like the pod area had no spikes in it for once. You could actually get to pod.
There's too many anti-fairies and powder was too late.
Oh yeah, no powder.
There was. Yeah, we didn't find powder.
It was on Smith Chain.
Oh.
Purple chest. That's
We can tell you where every item in the game is if you want, because we basically
my
did
greatest
everything.
fear was hookshot on purple chest because like I had left the mountain after we didn't find the big key, and I started Smith Chain, and I left like just as I was picking up purple chest because Mystic found the big key in Tower Room. So I was like, if hookshot's in the next check, I don't know, we will probably lose.
Yeah, our next biggest fear was we needed to find flippers to get something out of Swamp.
Those were in Mire as well.
They were in Mire. Of
There was
course.
nothing in
Mire
Swamp, by
and
the way.
Hookshot and flippers in Mire, that's amazing. I mean, horrible, but
Thanks, SaHa's.
Yeah, I think at that point we've about covered the length and the breadth of this one. We've got that game 2 coming up later in the week. Again, that's one that Leftovers does have to take to stave off that relegation. The SaHa's kids, what does that do with regards to you guys and Amish, depending on what happens in Amish's matchup with Mom's favorite
So
rando
we
team?
have the tiebreaker on Amish because we swept them.
Yeah,
so they have
so-
to take one of the games off your mom's favorite rando team, and if they do, then they're ahead of us.
Yeah. If they lose both and we lose both, I think we get out ahead
We
of
get
them
the head-to-head
based on the
tiebreaker,
head-to-head,
so.
yeah. So we have a couple paths to stave off
This-
relegation still.
Yeah, that's and they swept us, I think. So like, it's just a big circle.
Yeah.
Ah, the dangers of Invitational League. Well, thank you all for putting on a quite entertaining show here kicking off this week. I hope everybody out there in Chatland was entertained. I don't know if we've gotten it into the chat nearly enough, but go ahead and give all these runners a follow. They put on a great show for your entertainment this Hallows Eve, as it were, with all the enemies in their costumes running around. Then, Arya, it was a pleasure as usual. Nochi, Pi, thanks for doing the tracking for us.
Yeah, it was really great to come with you, MindDM. Again, GG's to both teams. Best of luck. Your last races. This was definitely a thing to have to behold. Starting with that nonsense in the Eastern Dark Rooms that Nochi noted in chat, but that god awful hook shot, and forward to seeing the ultimate game between you two teams. And again, best of luck.
Well, you know what this means, right? The next race is gonna be the most boring scene possible.
Secretly vanilla preset.
Right?
Ugh.
Oh, we had 2 vanilla bosses tonight.
If so,
What
I
is
should
this?
play that one.
All right, I think that is going to do it for us here, though. The Speed Gaming presentation of Link to the Past Randomizer League. We will continue in the coming days. This was just the first day of Week 7. We've got some more invitational matches coming your way. I expect we may get a few of the Open League matches on the slate tomorrow, because last time I looked, there was not an invitational match on the schedule for a Tuesday. So if you're looking forward to seeing the other side of League, as it were, we may have some of that for you tomorrow. Nothing set in stone just yet, but keep your eyes peeled to speedgaming.org/schedule for all of the upcoming speed gaming action, whether it be Link to the Past Randomizer League or your other favorite games that are played just as quickly as the runners can possibly manage.